Hey guys, how you doing? This is Shane with Deathlocker. I'm here with the guys from Nerdlocker, Jimmy and Aaron.
What's up, nerds?
Rainbolt. I'm going to say it again. Most people just call me Rainbolt. I think my mom calls me Aaron.
Your mom calls you Aaron?
And you.
This is actually our second attempt at recording this. The first attempt just went so fucking horribly bad. So, no, it was pretty bad. I went on this weird dissertation rant about some weird
Bone
fucking
Church.
Stephen King thing called Bone Church.
Oh, you gotta sell better than that, Shane. It's like the missing footage from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. It'll never be seen, but it was genius. Trust
Never
us.
be seen. It kind of reminds me of, you guys ever listen to the podcast, Yeah, It's That Bad?
Sure.
Yeah.
Really early on, they did an episode. They talk a bunch of shit about movies, and really early on, they did an episode for the movie Gamer, and it is just the most insanely inaudible, rambling piece of trash ever. That's what you guys are missing. Is for some reason I got stuck on this Bone Church thing that some folks are doing with Stephen King, and I just couldn't let it go. So that's that.
Well, I'll tell you, I think we have the audio of me talking for 22 minutes of just me. And then I don't know what happened to you guys.
And nobody wants that.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that.
I'm
Nobody
thinking
wants us to hear me.
I'm thinking special limited edition feature down the road sometime around podcast, 100. We can do a retrospective and just play play Rainbolt side of the missing footage.
I will agree. He is special.
He is. But to kind of jump in, this is our first podcast. Deathlocker came about by myself and Rainbolt. We were just chit-chatting one day, and we were at Texas Frightmare Weekend a couple of years back and thought it'd be cool to give some stuff away. That went horribly wrong.
It was embarrassing.
It was. The idea was that Rainbolt was going to post pictures of me and say, find this guy and get free shit.
But nobody was trying to find. I mean, you know how many balding older guys are at the Texas Frightmare Weekend, and it was just weird.
Find the bald, fat, bearded guy at Texas Frightmare Weekend. That went over really well. So,
didn't.
So what ended up happening was I just was finding these random fucking people and just thrusting posters in their face, like assaulting them with fucking poster tubes. And it was pretty classic.
People were like, no, thank you, sir. I don't want free stuff. You're just weird. Leave me alone.
And I'm just like, no, take my tube. Take my long, hard tube. Luckily, didn't get kicked out, but it kind of got us thinking about, how can we expand upon things? Myself with a couple other folks, really good cats. We run a horror screen print group that Aaron's in. And we were just kind of brainstorming, trying to figure out, how we can, expand upon the Nerdlocker footprint into horror, because nobody had any clue what the fucking Nerdlocker was at Texas Frightmare. And fast forward about 2 years, and here we are.
Yeah, and I think it's something that we all have a passion for, and so it's obvious. I just don't understand why you haven't done it sooner. I think, me prodding you for the last 2 years to finally get it going. I mean, it sucked, but here we are. You got it together, and now we're doing our first one, and hopefully we'll do one every, 2-3 weeks?
Yeah, I think 2 weeks is what we're thinking.
Okay. Well, good job.
Yep.
Okay, that's it.
That's awesome.
That's it, right?
Yeah, we're done, right?
I don't think so.
Oh.
Well, don't get into the whole Bone Church conversation about Stephen King, but we can talk about Stephen King or some of the other great horror writers.
Oh, we're not done?
No.
Oh, okay.
Jim, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm waiting for the Bone Church.
No,
I hear that.
No.
Well, I mean, to kind of start things off, I mean, I came into this whole thing as being somewhat of a poster nerd into horror stuff. What about you guys? How did you get involved in this whole Nerdlocker business of yours?
I won a contest.
He did, and then he was a jerk. He's like, well, I didn't want that poster. Can I have this other poster? I'm like, dude.
Who is this guy? Let's give him a job.
This Aaron guy, what a pain in the butt.
Well, I started out myself not really knowing jack shit. And I was doing a kind of my own personal blog, which was just god awful. It was me going to the movies and giving my 2 cents about what I saw. And so I started looking around for some other, you know, web pages that kind of did the same thing, and I stumbled across Nerdlocker and started reading through it a little bit, and then I saw that they had a contest, and I entered the contest. Was it on Facebook or where was it? I don't
Yeah,
remember.
What was the contest for? Just something general or like a
Justin Van Genderen posters. Batman
Yeah.
and Gotham and Metropolis, I believe.
Yep. Yep. And I won the Gotham poster, and then Jimmy got to liking me,
oh, love at
and
first
he
sight?
said,
True that.
"Hey."
True that. Then I did see him, and it was like, oh,
Oh god, I came and visited you in Vegas the first time. I think it was like the first year of me, kind of doing some writing for Nerdlocker. I don't think he was ready to see the glory of me.
The glory of
yep.
you.
Yeah.
Trust me, I wasn't ready to see the glory of Aaron either when I first met him.
That was
I
hilarious.
think the first time I met him was behind the Mondo Gallery in a dark alley. It's raining outside.
It
I'm still
was.
traumatized.
That's a true story. It was the back alley of the Mondo Gallery here in Austin, Texas. Oh yeah. By the way, I'm in Austin, Texas. I think Shane's in
Oklahoma.
BFE, Oklahoma, and Jimmy's in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Word.
So we're not all sitting in a room looking at each other's eyes,
That would be really
which would
awkward.
that would be really creepy. But either way, so what were you gonna say, Shane?
Oh
I'm
no, I was
sorry.
just thinking about being the same with you. Look in your eyes. I was
God,
getting
don't
excited.
think too hard.
Fantasies.
Deathlocker just took a turn. It just went weird.
So the overall goal of Deathlocker is this is our first podcast again. We started up a Facebook page. There's only a few things on there. We're going to try to start putting some content on there just to throw some random things, build up the brand a little bit. Everything's going to be run through Nerdlocker, and hopefully we can find like a fine balance of news, fun stuff. This podcast thing doesn't suck too bad. Maybe work out some live commentaries or, just a bunch of fun shit for horror nerds to get into.
Yeah, hopefully we're gonna have more guests. We'll have some artists. Hopefully we'll have some talent that we meet as we go along. I know Dick Warlock from the Halloween fame showed interest in doing a podcast. I mean, there's other people we know. I know we know a lot of artists, so I'm pretty sure we can get some people to sit in on one of these days.
Domino's pizza
What do
delivery
you think?
drivers, just random people off the street.
Sorry, I had to sneeze. Nobody can see that, but I think you guys
Yeah.
can see me mute.
Okay, so we're not going to go with this whole bone church thing again. But one of the things I came across on the internet I thought was interesting was the what is it? Monster Mania 39 is going on this weekend. And apparently, have you guys been tracking any of the information about this at all?
Okay.
No.
No.
God damn it, Shane! Are we supposed to talk about things that we know about? I mean, I'm not monitoring this Monster Mania thing.
Well, so
No, but dude, I totally heard that this little guy in Iowa had an idea. Did you hear about it?
Oh. I'm sorry. There was that dead silence. I mean, okay. Where are we going with that, Jim?
I'm kidding. I'm saying there's nobody would know.
Okay,
Nobody
well,
paid attention. I have no idea.
Monster Mania is one of the bigger horror cons that's going around. Monster Mania 39, obviously it's 39th one. One of the things I kind of thought was interesting about it was this thing has gotten so big that it's almost, comparatively speaking, not size-wise, but amount of people in a finite space, San Diego Comic-Con level. I'm reading about how folks weren't able to get in, fire marshals weren't letting them in. Folks who bought tickets were coming out just for a break or to get a cigarette. They weren't able to get in. One of the most interesting things I read about it was it's so unorganized that they're actually letting people in with real weapons.
What?
Yeah, there was a guy who was getting pictures, I believe, with Kane Hodder. and he ended up getting injured because he brought a real knife, a real machete,
Machete.
real like I can cut you machete, and not just a prop. So when Kane does his pictures, a lot of times he puts the machete up to your neck or body parts or whatever, and this dude ended up getting like actually legit cut up by it, and it just
Wow.
fascinated me that and right now with the way things are going with security and all that they would let people in with real weapons. I'm reading that they actually had to have increased security because they were getting threats that Paul Rubens was attending. People were going to attack Paul Rubens.
Wait, why? Because I love Pee Wee Herman.
They hated him in
I
Buffy.
mean, the only
Is
thing
that
I
what it
can think
was?
of is because people were still pissed they got caught jerking off.
Oh God,
Yeah, I mean, that's
Oh,
okay.
no.
But
dude.
yeah, I just thought,
You said his name, and it took me about 30 seconds to remember what he did
I
wrong.
mean, that was what, like mid
I was
80s?
trying to think of a horror thing.
Yeah,
That was a long
yeah,
time
but
ago.
it just so that's something that's going on is Monster Mania.
Was
I know a few of the people on our poster
was
group went to it.
was, was Paul Rubens in another horror film other than Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
I wanna.
He,
He was in.
he was in
Because that's
Cheech.
where I'm
Yeah, he
stuck too.
was in
I'm like, what is
Nightmare
it?
on Nightmare Before
No, I
Christmas, wasn't
think
he?
he was in that. I'm gonna look it up right now. I want to say he was in Tripper, which was that David Arquette horror
Tripper.
movie that he made way back like 2005, 2006.
Okay.
A little bit of a deep cut for
Sorry,
you.
man.
Interesting.
I'm looking through it right now. Maybe he wasn't, but I'm pretty sure he's popped up here and there. And yeah, he was in Tripper. So David Arquette did this movie a long time
Wow.
ago, and basically it's a serial killer who chops people up wearing a Ronald Reagan mask.
Isn't it the premise of uh, what was that surf movie where
Point
they wore
Break.
the
Yeah,
president
Point Break.
mask?
That's
Point
exactly
Break.
what it was.
David
Oh,
Arquette bit off of Point Break. It's actually not a bad
yep.
movie. It's pretty fun. It's retarded, but it's pretty fun. Dude runs around, chops people up. He's wearing a Ronald Reagan mask. He's saying all he's like throwing jelly beans on him and shit. It's fucking stupid, but it's fun. But
He was also in the Smurfs. That's
this is
probably
in
why
the
he had a death threat.
Smurfs. Paul,
Yeah.
oh, is he masturbation Smurf?
No,
Yeah.
it's weird, but yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff. But okay, go back to the whole thing about bringing in like real weapons. I mean, when we went to Texas Frightmare last year, I remember they were very strict about prop guns and prop knives. It wasn't, hey, you can bring that in. I remember watching a guy who had a knife that was fake, but it was hard plastic, and the guy was like, "No, no, you can't bring that in." That kind of, even though it's not metal, it's still you can still stab somebody with this. So, I mean, what was Monster Mania
Yeah,
Con
I don't
thinking?
know, man. I mean, San Diego Comic Con's the same way. You go to San Diego Comic Con, if you have any kind of weapon or anything even looks like a weapon, they got this little special booth you have to go to, and they put little stickers and shit on your stuff, so that way they know it's been inspected. Yeah, I
Yeah,
just the idea of somebody getting a full machete through, and you know uh, why?
yeah, you know, I guess you can't
Yep, yep.
monitor everybody, but I'm looking at the Monster Mania Con webpage, and I'm looking at all the guests. It was like Tim Curry. Man, that would be great to see. John Carpenter, the kids from It. They're going to be at the Texas Frightmare weekend in May. All the kids from It, from the new It. Oh, that's another thing. We had a conversation in this now defunct early inaugural podcast 20 minutes ago. Was we were talking about It, the how the old It didn't hold its own compared to the new It
I remember
or
that it
whatever.
was. We all agreed it was the best movie ever made.
Jim.
Well, yes, Shane is not wrong.
What do you?
I'm
What do
kidding.
you
Shane is way wrong. The first part was great. The second part, where they fight off the stupid spider, which I know wasn't a spider, but the entity that was all evil was wrapped up in this stupid spider. It was awful. And I'm just hoping that the remake doesn't go down that road.
Ugh. Holy crap! Cassandra Peterson was there this weekend. Elvira.
Oh, Monster
That would have
Mania.
been kind of cool.
Yeah, it was a good lineup.
Yeah.
It was a good lineup.
Oh my God, your cousin's
Fucking
there,
Randy.
Shane. Randy Quaid. Holy shit! Did he cancel, or was he actually there?
And just so everybody knows,
damn
Randy
it.
Quaid is not my cousin in real life. Apparently, when I grow my beard out, I look like Randy, like not regular Randy Quaid, but like I'm hiding from the police, living in your fucking
Psycho
backyard, Randy Quaid. Which is probably why people didn't want to take
That's
posters
true.
from me.
You do. Dude, you actually did look like Randy Quaid when you were handing out posters. That's
Well, by
probably
that
what
logic,
it was.
they should have wanted to take pictures with me then, yeah?
I'm telling you.
They were afraid I was going to snatch them
No,
up
they
and
were
take them to
afraid of
Canada.
you. Yeah. Jim, what was the last horror con you went to?
Really?
I've never been to a horror
Why?
con.
You're shitting me.
No. Been to Comic-Con.
Don't they have horror cons in your area?
Never been to horror. No. Vegas used to have, like 2 years they tried a Wizard World, and it failed miserably.
Really?
Yeah. No, Vegas it sucks because we're so close to LA. So LA gets all the cool stuff, and then they figure, they'll drive 4 hours to get there.
Drive 4 hours.
Hey, well, you got Horror Hound Weekend in your hometown, Ohio, or your home state. We're in Cincinnati. That's where Horror Hound is.
Yeah, that's like Kentucky. Nobody likes Cincinnati. Cincinnati's stupid.
Yeah.
Cincinnati's Troll 2.
So
That's what it is.
So I guess the
Welcome
big
to
question
Neil
is,
Bog.
now that you're doing a horror podcast, when are you planning on going to a horror convention?
That is an excellent question. I don't know.
I mean,
I guess I'll have to start looking at the
if
calendar.
everything
and
goes
plan
well,
one.
you can go to Monster Mania 40. Yeah, I mean, you can bring
Is that in
weapons.
Vegas?
I don't know.
It's a great time.
I got to try and sneak in a weapon. That's perfect.
Shit. I got James Reeves Davis is flying out from Phoenix just to go to Texas Frightmare, so you can take a trip to go to a horror con.
All right, I'll be there.
Not this.
If you don't
He's
find me,
gonna
look
be the
on.
guy in the Michael Myers mask.
Yeah,
I'm in the
exactly.
Yeah, random people.
That's too funny.
And just come up and give me a big hug.
No.
Give me a big hug, dude.
We should.
Should
I
give out
actually
posters.
got a couple posters I want to give out, but I don't know. I'm scared this time.
Dude, we got Mike Kitchen is going to be going to Horror Hound for Nerdlocker this in March 23rd through the 25th. Man, there's a lot of good people. You got like Ron Perlman, Michael Rooker, Chandler Riggs. Man, there's a lot of people. God, C. Thomas Howell, David Arquette, and oh look, it's James Remar.
Okay,
That's
so
gonna be
here's
awesome.
a quick. Sorry. So here's a question
Jen?
I got for you. So
Okay, go on.
we're talking about the Monster Mania thing, and we're talking about how a bunch of people were there. Has everyone's acceptance of pop culture, horror, nerd, and all that, is that necessarily a good thing when it comes to the horror community? Because the horror community kind of was always that little, corner of the world. You could have conventions, you can have things, but you didn't have like 4,000 fucking people showing up for a signing, or, even Texas Frightmare, it's getting kind of bigger and bigger and bigger. But now all this is popular and it's trendy. What do you guys think about that?
I go back and forth. I think there's good and bad. I'm happy for the people that make the films and the talent that's in the films, that they get recognized, and hopefully they're getting a payday, because they don't get paid actually doing the horror films, because most horror films are super cheap and they don't make a ton of money. But on the flip side, it's weird that we're sort of, Rainbow's older than dirt, so he's a little older than that generation. But we all grew up in an era of go to the video store, see the VHS tapes, which cover is the best, and that's the one you're going to get. And that was where horror was, and really the VHS. Yeah, they obviously had movies, but you really got a lot of the independent stuff. One of my favorite stories is Truth or Dare, how that was made on VHS, and I still don't know how that guy got that distribution deal, but the only place you could ever find it was in video stores, and that's what happened to a lot of them. But I think with the advancement of technology and that now there's so many outlets to watch anything, especially the internet, that we have people making totally independent horror films and people gobbling it up, and now it's getting to a bigger audience, so that yeah, it's blowing up. And then obviously a lot of the things that we grew up with in the 70s and the 80s, those are being revisited and they're huge, and some of them weren't great. In fact, most of them weren't great, but now they're sort of being iconicized, and that makes it so this huge community now exists, and you get sort of newbies who don't necessarily respect what came before it, but they are making it a big deal. And then, of course, you got the money. There's money to be had, so there's going to be more people involved, and things get expensive. And that's the thing I don't like, is I don't like people in general, as Shane has said before. And the more people you have, the more people are going to be around, and the more popular it's going to be. And that's sort of where we are with that as well.
No, I'm waiting for you to respond, my friend.
I think Shane left. What was the question?
So, horror, the nerdy stuff, it's becoming more popular. Obviously, superhero and all that, whatever. But, horror kids are always kind of like the ones in the corner. Like Jimmy was saying, you go to the video store, usually it was kind of in the back, almost by where the little porn section was. But now that it's become...
Well, he was right. We based a lot of our decisions off the covers. But, I know I did.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Some of those covers were awesome with crappy movies.
The movies were just god-awful. But the covers were what drew me to them.
No, I was just wondering, do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing that horror, hard sci-fi, is kind of becoming fashion again?
I like it. I like the fact that I didn't go to a lot of these cons or anything like that years back. I mean, just recently did I start going to these cons, and at least seeing their footprint on the internet as much as before. I didn't see it, or I guess I didn't notice. But I think, like Jimmy said, I think it's good for the people. Hopefully they make some money. Going to a horror con and standing in line for 2 hours to see, say Tim Curry or John Carpenter, man, that would be okay with me. I wouldn't mind. But, if it was easier back in the day, good for them. But, I mean, you got all these, younger folks who are, getting into horror now. And so, again, hopefully it's making money for the people that deserve it. Not just the con organizers, but the actors and actresses and the talent. Hopefully, they get the payday that I mean, they're spending their time. Why wouldn't they?
So you talked a little bit about getting into horror. Do you think there's such a thing as entry-level horror? Like, is there a movie out that's come out, say, in the last couple of years that you look at and you say, hey, this is a solid entry-level horror movie? I'll stick my 7-year-old, 9-year-old down and put him in front of the TV to watch it.
I don't know if that, well, I mean, my parents took me to go see Jaws when I was 7 years old. Obviously, their parenting skills were not the best. It scared the shit out of me. I'm older now, and I still have a problem going into the ocean. I do. Years later, I'm not going to say how long, but years later, I still have an issue. But the thing is I was a little more cautious with my kid. I had her watch classics in the 90s and 2000s, and she loves them. Now she loves horror, but I don't know if there's like a one single kind of movie or genre that
like at what age
or starter horror.
Watch horror movies.
That's a great question, Jane.
What was that, Jimmy?
I was going to say, Shane, that's a great question because I mean, maybe that's not that I want to, be like the old man knocking millennials or anything, but maybe that's sort of my problem with the way it's blown up. Because I remember being a kid and I was 9 years old and we were at a sleepover, and in Cleveland area they had this
Where
show
is this
called Big
conversation
Chuck.
going?
Bear with me, fool. Big Chuck and Little John. And it was those midnight shows where they would introduce a horror film. And that night, it was Night of the Living Dead. And that was my first foray into horror films. And it was obviously sneaking around because my parents wouldn't let me watch that. So I snuck to see Night of the Living Dead. And I think you bring up a good point is I think kids nowadays, they don't necessarily do that. I think it's readily available to them. Even parents taking them to go see this stuff. And I think there's sort of a rite of passage of, yeah, dude, I snuck out and we went and saw that.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of what horror films are is, no parent in their right mind, obviously the Rainbows are different, would take their kid to see a horror film.
Yeah, that was bad. But, my kid snuck out to go see, like, I think she went, her and her friends snuck out to go see, I think it was Final Destination or Scream 3 or something like that. I can't remember what it was. She was like 10 years old. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'd follow.
That's why your daughter's awesome.
She is pretty awesome.
When my daughters were probably old enough to watch TV, I'd always have like Halloween or something on, and my kid would just sit in front of the TV at like age 3 and yell at the whoever's being chased, or run, 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 and Leprechaun. They memorized probably the first 20, 30 minutes of Leprechaun, and by the age of 10, most of my kids only have two. Both my daughters, most of my kids, all 32 of them.
Most of my kids.
All 17 of them.
But both of my daughters pretty much knew
Shane.
who the
You're
actors
busy.
were underneath the paint. And with the exception of Child's Play, which is my daughter Dharma's fear, not because of the movie, but because my other kid decided to wake up in the middle of the night over the course of a month and just move one of her dolls inches here and there, just to fuck with their head. And this is when they were 9. Yeah, I was a horrible parent. My kids are all about.
But that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to mess with their siblings.
That is awesome.
Yeah. But I mean, okay, yeah, I saw Jaws when I was very young, but I loved the whole Nightmare on Elm Street property. I remember I actually ditched school with a friend of mine, and we took like 4 buses to a city that was actually showing the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and we saw it. For me, it was kind of one of, like Jim said, a rite of passage to go and sneak into a theater to see a horror movie. I mean, I was, I don't remember how old I was, but it was just one of those things that we did to go see a horror movie. I mean, I literally ditched school, took a bus.
So is
lied
that
to my
experience
parents.
gone nowadays? Then, as far
It was
as
worth it.
kids, the rite of passage movies, or is it changed more so when you're growing up and you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever, and you're seeing like Fandango or someone's doing a limited screening of Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Aliens, and it kind of almost becomes the responsibility, or you feel like you need to take your kid to experience these movies in theaters.
I think that goes to what you were saying earlier. I think it's more accepted now. It's more available now, so that you can take your kid to go do that. I can't fathom my dad taking me to go see one of these movies. I remember one time I asked, I don't remember how old I was, Dad, can you get me a horror movie at video rental? And he came home with Frankenstein, the original Frankenstein. And at the time I was like, are you kidding me?
I want to see
This is not a
Videodrome.
slasher film. And now that I'm older, I'm like, actually, that was a pretty cool move on his part. But at the same time, it's like my dad has no idea what I was talking about. So I think it's just more readily available. I think the generation that grew up with the slasher films and all that in the '80s now want to experience that with their kids.
Franchises or anything out there that actually kind of give you that experience? I mean, we're so desensitized. Jimmy, you said everything's so available. Things.
Plus, Netflix. You have tons of movies on Netflix. You have Amazon. You have everything, but nothing beats the experience of seeing a horror movie in the theater. I mean, I still go to the movies at a theater at
So do you
least
have
two
like
to
your
three
own
times a
little
month,
cheesy
maybe
kind of
more.
grindhousey theater, or do you just your AMC's? Some of us in
Oh
Oklahoma,
no, it's the Alamo Draft House, man. I need a beer and
have
food.
anything fancy smashy like that.
I need to have my chicken sandwich or gourmet pizza when I'm watching a movie. But not everybody does have an Alamo Draft House. But I mean, I'm not objected to going to a small theater to watch a horror movie. As long as it doesn't smell like pee. I mean, I don't have a problem. No. I brought that up because actually that kind of happened. My aunt took me to go see Led Zeppelin. The song Remains the Same in a theater in LA, and it smelled like pee.
Dude, those are the best theaters.
Got rid of that memory.
As far as if you want to see like a cheesy horror flick or a cheesy action movie, the ones that you walk in there and it's fucking rank. The carpet's sticky. The screens all ripped up, the sound's crackling. I'm honestly not trying to watch, Nightmare on Elm Street in super high def 4K. That's not the way the movie was made to be seen in.
Yeah, but still, I don't know. I need something more than just I've been to really bad small theaters, like family owned theaters to watch movies, and I guess I've just gotten accustomed to having a little luxury in my movie theaters. Yep.
I got to go with Rainbow on this. I'm turning into the old man. I don't want to be in a nasty ass theater.
But you have, though.
Yes.
I know you have, because you can use it as an experience that you've been to like these nasty theaters. We all have.
Oh yeah, we have, and I'm at an age where I don't need to anymore, so I'm not going to.
Make enough money where I don't
you're
have
talking
to
about
do
you were
that
younger,
anymore.
the experience of going and seeing the movies and all this and that. Isn't the quality of the theater in relation to the type of movie part of the experience?
Well, there's all kinds of factors, but
honestly, at this point in my life, I love watching movies at home.
Oh,
I don't have to
real
go
old
deal
man.
with people. I am, dude. You have no idea. Yeah, I get to watch it at home on my screen that I perfected with my sound without fools doing anything wrong, and I get to
when you go back to the experience,
my own food. Yeah.
When you look at your movies like your Insidious franchise or even your Conjuring franchise, solid horror flicks, one of the things that they're known for is the jump scare, the sound scare. It's an entirely different experience seeing it in a theater with people than it is sitting at your house.
Here's how I grew up. In Ohio, I would go down in our basement, and our basement had a door that led out into the woods. I loved watching Friday the 13th all by myself in the basement, lights off, looking at the woods.
Yeah, it's weird.
I had no problem being alone doing that. So yeah, I understand what you're saying, and it is definitely an experience, but at the same time, I love being scared just by myself.
I'm sorry. I just think that's kind of funny. I just find that funny, just like all by yourself. I can imagine you just like, and your parents are like,
are you listening
Jim,
to like the
are you okay down there? I'm fine.
You like that?
Oh, I see where he went with that. Are you touching yourself? I see.
Everybody. No, I did not find Kane hot or that attractive.
Kinks? Oh, I thought we were talking about kinks.
While we're on the topic of movie experiences, on the topic of movie experiences, tell me one of your like wildest horror movie experiences I kind of touched base on the fact that I ditched school and took buses to go see Nightmare on Elm Street when I was, in my teens.
Man, I grew up in
But
Southern California, so
what about you guys?
there was no 15
Anything?
buses to get across the border, so the guy didn't touch me in the bathroom while I watched a movie type situations. Um, it was pretty easy to sneak into whatever movies are out there, standard stuff, buy a movie for, the fucking Jetsons or something, and then just walk into whatever theater. The only one that really kind of stands out is probably when I was about nine-ish. My aunt took me to go see, I want to say it was Nightmare on Elm Street 3. And the reason why it just stood out is because we had to leave because she really didn't have any idea what it was she was coming into. I did the whole standard kid thing. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Everyone else is seeing it. And we got in there probably about halfway through the movie, and she was just like, yeah, no, it's time to go.
Yeah, I would say my story is similar to that. I was an adult, early 2000, and my wife and I were relatively new to each other, and I did not know, but I took her to see a movie. It was the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I fucking love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. And halfway through, I look over at her, and I was like, oh my God, tears streaming down her face. She's like really upset, really affected by what was going on. I'm like, oh my God, do we need to go? Are you okay? She's like, I just don't like horror films. I'm like, oh my God, well then let's go. She's like, no. I need to wait to the end to make sure it's okay. And I'm like,
All right.
most of these movies don't turn out okay. So maybe you're not going to be happy with that. But yeah, I screwed up. I'm floored that, 18 years later, she's still with me. But yeah, that was the funny one. I had no clue. I thought everybody loved horror. No, I was wrong.
Yeah,
Why not?
I've never taken a date on a horror movie, but
It just seems like it'd be the perfect thing. She gets all scared. You got the little hole in your popcorn bucket. She's going for popcorn.
you went there, didn't you, Shane?
But he forgot he had his own hand in the bucket.
A little extra butter for your popcorn.
Oh, that's gross. That's gross. Thanks. Well, I had the one experience was that I saw Poltergeist in the theater. My sister, who was trying to be the good older sister and take her little brother to the movies, but she didn't realize that I got a hold of some beer and in the parking lot of the theater while she was hanging out with all her friends, and I got obliteratedly drunk. And we went into the theater to go see, and I'm 15 years old, and we went to the theater to go see Poltergeist with all our friends. And of course, I was drunk and stupid and acting like an idiot and got us all kicked out. But, at 15 years old, you really you want to experience everything. And yeah, I kind of screwed that up for us, but that's one of those experiences that I had from older days.
Smooth. Little brother messing up.
I know.
So since this is our first podcast, what's the movie coming out horror-wise that you're looking forward to the most?
Ready Player One.
Ready Player One.
I don't know. What do you have, Jim?
Deadpool 2, but it has nothing to do with horror.
See?
A lot of blood and guts, though.
I know that Slender Man. I know that's one I want to. I know it sounds weird, but just the whole controversy over the whole Slender Man. I want to see that. That sounds like it's going to be good. Just me personally, I want to see it.
That's one of the ones I kind of figured was going to be a Netflix or Hulu bait down the road.
There was one I just saw on. Somebody saw it at South by Southwest and said it was an intense horror movie that's coming out, but I can't remember the name of it. I know that doesn't do much for us, but
yeah, that's pretty useful. The movie that the one guy told you to start that one person that took place in that one place.
Oh, you've seen it?
Yeah. I got 3 or 4 posters, a tattoo.
It's a Quiet Place. That was the name of it.
Oh, with Jim from The Office.
Yep. Krasinski or Linsky, whatever his name is. Jim Krasinski.
I believe he directed that as well.
Yep. And everybody's saying good things about it, but I mean, it's just an infancy of people are just now seeing it this weekend.
Is it released this weekend, or
No,
is it like
no,
on this
no.
limited
I
or
think
South by
it's
Southwest?
South by Southwest. So people are
Gotcha.
just kind of checking it out and posting what they thought about it.
Gotcha.
John Krasinski.
He's the new Jack Ryan apparently also. So yay
Oh.
for him.
Well, he was actually good in 13 Hours.
Yeah, I mean he's got that whole thing going on where comedic actors grow a beard to be all serious.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. Is Quiet Place. There's a couple other things that I've seen commercials for that I'm looking forward to. But yeah, I think this was good, Shane. I think we did a good job. Let's wrap it up here.